Let controversy rain down on me. Come on, guys, hammer me in the comments for not getting in on this loving on these Uptempo 17s. Everybody out there, I'm sure, is gushing over them in the same way they gushed over the infrareds. I didn't really get the infrareds, and I was hammered in the comments for that. And I'm not a huge fan of these either, and I'm going to be hammered in the comments again. But I always call it straight in my channel. I've never done anything else, and I'm doing that exactly same thing today. When I first saw that the LeBron 17 line was coming out with an Uptempo Red, I was like, wow, that's a great idea. Scottie Pippen is an iconic basketball player. He's one of those guys who transcends generations. And one of my favorite things about him, if you do not know who Scottie Pippen is that oftentimes people will say, if this basketball player had Scottie Pippen in the same way Michael Jordan had Scottie Pippen, then that player would have been great too. And it's kind of a compliment to Scottie Pippen that he is credited with a lot of MJ's sort of success. So when I saw the iconic Scottie Pippens, which hopefully are behind me right now, the ones that most people have seen with that massive splash of air on the side, really, really great collaboration with Supreme a few years ago as well. That's kind of what I was expecting. I was like, wow, how are they going to tie this together? And then here we are with these Uptempo Red 17s, and there's like two really tiny details that connect to Scottie Pippen's line, and that's it. I can't see anything else that's a homage to Scottie Pippen, and that's where my disappointment comes in on these guys, is because they really don't match that more up-tempo line from Scottie Pippen, which I was expecting them to do. And just because they're red and black doesn't necessarily make them a sort of homage to the up-tempos. But anyway, I'm going to get into that today. There was one feature on these guys that took me by surprise, which was, and I've reviewed an awful lot of 17s, probably 10 or 12 different pairs of 17s for the channel. I usually love them. I think they're great shoes. In fact, let's put the Harlem Fashion Rose behind me right now, because that's one of my favorite shoes of the last 12 months. I love those guys. So I've reviewed an awful lot of these shoes for the channel, and I like to review them. And there was something on these Scottie Pippen Reds, these Uptempo Reds, that took me by surprise, and that in itself was a surprise, since I've looked at these shoes so often. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get into this and have a look at the details on the upcoming release of the Nike Lebron 17 Uptempo Red. This is a Talking About a 23 Sneaker channel. Talking About a 23 Sneaker channel day. It's Mainichi Upsuno all day, Mainichi Media Design. Every single day from Tokyo, Japan, I bring you content about upcoming sneaker releases, sneaker news, and sneaker reviews. And these days, I tell you two things. It's really hard to do this because we're in lockdown, so I'm shooting at home, which I don't like to do. But it seems to be working. The light seems to hold up, the sound seems to hold up, the green screen seems to hold up. What doesn't hold up is my back. That I did something to my back a couple of days ago when I was picking up my little 2-year-old girl who's sleeping next door, and it really, really hurts. So it's quite hard for me to stand here and do this content, but I still do this daily content. I haven't missed a day for something like 500 days, and I'm just going to keep on keeping on. So, and today what we're looking at is that Uptempo Red from the Nike Lebron 17 line. Now, I said at the top of this video that with the infrareds, which are probably behind me right now, that when I did that video, some people were like, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, I do know what I'm talking about, because it's my opinion. I'm not saying this is everybody's opinion of this sneaker. If I don't like a sneaker, I'm not saying that's what the whole world should believe and have the same opinion. I'm just saying that's what I think. You please form your own opinions. And here we are with what I see as a reverse infrared. I don't know why they're the Uptempo Reds. It's almost a reverse infrared. I don't know if I can do that interchange thing, and you can see the infrareds to these Uptempo Reds and see how close they are together. Even how far the red bled into the black on the infrareds, and then the black bleeds into the red here on these Uptempo Reds is kind of almost similar. So to me, it's like a reverse sneaker. And like I said, I wasn't a huge fan of those infrareds, and here I am, same again with these Uptempos. Now, the reason why I'm not a huge fan of them is because there's not that big a connection between Scottie Pippen's line and these guys. Now, there's only two places on these guys that I can see the Uptempo echo. Now, I might be wrong in that, and if I am wrong in that, feel free to hammer me again in the comments down below, and at least tell me, oh, actually, you missed out on this bit and you missed out on that bit. And that's what I don't like about them, is the fact that they're calling it an Uptempo, but it really isn't to me. But it's still a cool looking shoe. let's not be mistaken about that. It's still a cool looking shoe, and it's very reminiscent of my favorite shoe of the year so far, which was the Fire Red 3s, and I was happy to get those guys in hand, and I haven't worn them yet. As I promised when I unboxed them, I was like, this is such a beautiful shoe, I'm never going to wear it. So I'm a fan of my red shoes, and I'm actually a fan of this colorway, but I just don't like them calling it the Uptempo, because like I said, there's only two things I can see on there that are Uptempo. Number one is when you go to the very top of the tongue, there's that loop up there that's the tongue tab when you pull these on, to get these guys on your feet, and that's very much a sort of up-tempo line. It's kind of like it's a loop, and it's a sort of cylindrical loop, if you like. So that's an echo of the up-tempo line. And then if you come down from that, you can see right in the middle of the tongue a little disc in there with what looks like almost like a 5-pointed crown or something, which is also taken straight off the Uptempo 97s. But other than that, if you took those two things away, and they're very small details, let's be honest, the pull tab at the top of the tongue and a little disc in the middle of the tongue are not exactly signature features of a sneaker, you know what I mean? And if that's all they do to sort of pay homage to Scottie Pippen in the Uptempo line, then I'm kind of like, that's where my problem with this sneaker lies. But as I said at the top of this video, the sneaker did actually surprise me. Now I've reviewed, let me see how many I can remember off the top of my head. There was the Shaq, was it Shaq? Not Shaq. LeBron wasn't kind of the James gang. There was the blue ones, which were more than an athlete. The school ones with the school that he's got in Akron, Ohio. There were the original ones that dropped, the Lakers, the Harlem Fashion Rose. There was a colourful one recently that kind of looked like Fruity Pops, but it wasn't. And anyway, there's just a ton of them, and I'd never noticed this before. And I've actually only ever seen it in one other sneaker now that I've checked it out, and it was a blue gum sole 17 that had this. And what I'm talking about is that line around the lacing system that runs into the top line, and you can see it very clearly on these guys because it's white on red, and if I flip to those infrareds, you can see it's black on black, so it really doesn't stand out. But if we go back to those what are they called, Uptempo Reds, and you can see the red upper with that white line. It really stands out, and that in itself was a surprise to me because I'd never seen that before in a sneaker, or on a 17 I should say. But then when we get to the back and look at the heel, it really made me appreciate two things that I hadn't appreciated before in 17s, and I really like this. So hopefully behind me here right now you can see the heel, and there's two things about it that I'm just like, that's really cool. That's a great design feature of the silhouette. I'm not just talking about this colorway, I'm talking about the whole silhouette. And maybe you know what I'm talking about, but there's two LeBron crowns there right in the back of these guys that I hadn't appreciated were there before. So if we start up high on the top line, you can see that the way that jagged top line runs across the back of the sneaker, it gives that kind of crown effect. And then if we pan down, again, hopefully the green screen's holding up as we do this, you can see where that kind of heel counter that gives you that stability across the heel and ankle section is again in that sort of jagged 3 pyramid style that gives you that crown again. And I'm sure that's deliberate. I'm sure that's supposed to represent LeBron James's crown, that King James sort of idea and motif in these shoes. And it's the first time I've really paid attention to that, even though I've reviewed, like I said, 10 or 12 different pairs of 17s for the channel. It's the first time I really appreciated that, and it's a very cool feature. And I'm happy to stay with it because I'm really happy to see that what they've done with the that heel counter is it's in a sort of translucent white. I remember when I did the infrareds, I wasn't happy with the black heel counter and the white swoosh on it. It was the white swoosh in particular I didn't like, and now these guys have come with that kind of white translucent heel counter with a black swoosh on it, and it does very much work. If you go forward a bit from that to sort of the forefoot, midfoot in white, it's maybe, it's just, you know what I mean? I think they could have done a bit more with that, but, and it's the same with the outsole. If we have a look at the outsole, which is one of my favourite things about the 17s because it looks like a kind of skin outsole, but all in black. Again, I think they could have done a little bit more with that, even though the insert isn't in black. All in black, I think they could have done a bit more with that. So as a total sneaker, yes, I like the colorway. I think they're a cool looking sneaker. I love 17s. Not actually a huge fan of that white line around the top. I think it kind of, it's in too much contrast to the rest of the sneaker. I think they probably would have been better off going with black on that, even though the black would have still stood out apart from the red. I think if it had been in black, it wouldn't have been quite so sort of bright and in your face. But all in all, it's a great looking sneaker, and a big yes for me. It's just that they are not tied to the Pippin line in the way that I thought they would. I thought they'd do a little bit more, have a bit more creativity and bring in that sort of more up-tempo line into the LeBron 17 line. It's great that he does tie-ups and pays homage to some of the best sneakers of all time, some of the greatest basketball players of all time. Shows a bit of humility on his part. LeBron James's part is what I'm talking about. But I think they could have done just a bit more with this sneaker to sort of bring that through and bring that story through. For now, though, it's time for me to sign off, and thank you guys for checking out my content. I do truly appreciate it. It's hard work doing it in lockdown, hard work doing it with my back, which is really, really killing me. Right in my lower back. My little girl was like running towards traffic, and I reached down to pick her up, and I just like, something went twang in there, and it's like, that's not good. So, but this sometimes happens. Usually takes about a week to work off. Fingers crossed, things will come out well in the end. But like I say, for now, time for me to sign off. Thank you guys for checking out my content. I do truly, truly appreciate it. But you know what? As I say at the end of every one of my videos, I do this every single day, and that means that you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.